Assalamu alaikum and peace to you all. Thank you for joining me in this wonderful night. It's not actually cold tonight and you can't really see the stars. It's quite cloudy up there and I made a fire and this is just random. I've been meaning to make this video. Now for transparency, I actually did this video just before. Unfortunately, I spoke about 20 minutes and the battery in the mic, which I'm attached to right now, died. Alright, let me just zip this up. Okay, so I'm doing it again. I've got the light erected so that I can see me properly. It's a good, nice moody. Got the fire started and I've been meaning to make a fire. Well, not meaning, but I make a fire usually at this time of night, which is about past 11 now, and it's very calming, relaxing. It's a nice night to have a fire. I just want to briefly talk about my experience as a podcast host and doing a podcast. And oh, that's quite warm today. And it's been a hell of an experience. I've had some good times, man. Good times doing the podcast. There was a guy who was very much in depression, stress, girlfriend, wife breakages, not seeing his children, attempting suicide and stuff like that. He was an eye opener for me, and there were some people who I've worked before, like actors. The actor slash boxer, he was good to talk to. But the highlight of the whole podcast for me, and the guest light, and guys, no offense to all you guys here who I've interviewed, the most memorable guest I've had is Maulana Atiq, the Imam of the mosque, the Imam who was offered a bribe to not talk about alcohol and how he handled it, how he how he is staying strong in his integrity and dignity, how to be honourable, not just a show, but actually acting upon things, preaching honourably, truthfully, faithfully, sincerely, and he's working actually for the community. And the way he's handled things, the way he's dealt with things, I actually admire him a lot. I admire him a lot, and he's actually a few years younger than me as well. So shout out to him. Unfortunately, the most talked about guest I've had on the podcast series is my guest Muhammad Ali. Now, I'm not going to talk about him a lot because it's not about him today. Just that, as a host, my skills as a host can be improved. Actually, you know what? It will be improved, and I do admit that with that guest, I was not in control of the topic in hand and the agenda that I wanted to put forward. Things that are valuable for the community, for the wider community, for society, for individuals out there, for whoever going through whatever. And I failed to do that, I think. And if you think I don't think I did a good job of it. But anyway, it was a learning curve for me. And looking back at it now, where I have lacked in and where I made mistakes, I'm definitely uh, going to be rectifying them, inshallah, in the future by God's grace. And yeah, I've had a blast. There was a guy who, Ake, who climbed Mount Everest. He was a delight to talk to, knowing his experience, because he's not a very, what is it, expressive guy. He's very humble in nature, actually. And I can tell he was a introvert uh, by nature, and he tried opening up. And I think he did. Once he got comfortable enough, uh, he did open up a bit, and he tried to talk about. But his friend, who I can't mention now, by the way, his friend who was sitting in the room, uh, present at the room, he was talking a lot about him, and he was obviously very expressive about his accomplishments and how Ake was undermining his own achievements due to his own humility, let's say. Humility. And I found him to be a nice guy to talk to. Nice guy. He's actually genuine. Uh, he's different from what he perceives on Facebook or social media. He's actually a genuine guy. I actually liked him. And a few of them, as well, few of them are guests. And as a host of interviewing many different people from many different backgrounds, uh, has given me a lot of insight and uh, things to think about how to interview and talk to certain individuals from very different backgrounds. Some are very inclusive. People can be who need to be made comfortable and relaxed and to, which I did. But usually what I do before the podcast starts, before I hit before I hit record on the camera, I talk to my guest. I talk to them for about 45, half an hour, 5 minutes at least, half an hour, 45 minutes. Talk about sort of things that we might talk about, things that could come up. Talk about the experiences beforehand, and the experiences, have a laugh, banter here and there, so that they feel comfortable around me and I feel comfortable around them as well. It's a more mutual thing, so that when I hit record on the camera, it's not spontaneous and it's not just sudden. I've already done the groundwork, and hopefully the guests and I know what to expect in the podcast. That's what it is, yeah. So for a lot of my guests, actually nearly all of my guests, that strategy has actually worked. I've not found a reason not to do that again, and it's actually quite a good thing that I started off, and the way I deal with things. One of my guests that I couldn't handle, or I couldn't control or steer the agenda or the topics that I wanted to talk about, was my last guest. So that's a thing that I need to work on and fix in the future. So yeah, so I say, yeah, this has been a very the podcast series has been a very eye-opening, enlightening thing for me, and it's been a thing that I wanted to do for years, but I've never thought of me being the host. I've always thought I've got the skills. I know that the reason for doing the podcast is important and can be valuable for the community and for everybody else around the world. Actually, there's a guy from Canada who got in contact with me, and we spoke. Unfortunately, I really did want him on the podcast. Do an online thing where you have two guests or something. I wanted him on. Things that for this series, probably not. Probably for the next series, I'll call him on. There were other guests as well. Other guests, and another guest who has done TED Talks, who's also a community service, who's done a lot of work in the community. His actually job is to do community work. I really wanted him on as well, but unfortunately, another time, another place, another podcast. So yeah, I'm sure you guys got questions about how I started, why I started, and what it takes to do a podcast or anything, really, anything. Ask me anything you want, and I'll try to answer it truthfully, honestly as possible. Um, and what I'll tell you is, if let me just check if the mic's still on, and it is on. It's fine. Let me tell you one thing about one of the main drives for me is that because I've been a teacher for on and off for I don't know 8 to 10 years professionally, taught kids for a number of years, and besides teaching, as years go by and months go by, and you recognize uh, certain nuances of the caliber of a student, or the capabilities or the abilities of a student, or the nature of a child, and you recognize some of the traits where if a kid's confident or angry, rebellious, so a good student that he learns quickly and everything else, but doesn't put a lot of effort in. So you slowly understand that these kids, these children, um, are going through quite a lot at home. They might not show that. They put on a strong face. They may show a facade of anger or laughter or funny comedic sort of traits to hide the pain or the suffering or the depression that they're going through. I guess kids do go through depression, and that, for me, I think, obviously you guys might agree as well, that it comes from broken families, kids who come from single mother households or single parent households, fathers who's probably too strict or absent, even so as well. Because his father's work is always working, and it's not about blaming anyway. It's not about blaming. It's just fathers need to do what fathers need to do. They need to work, and they're not always available to make sure and overlook and discipline or show them the ropes about life, how to deal with struggle, how to deal with um, failures and pain and mistakes, how to deal with all that, and how to steer your child to the right direction. Unfortunately, some fathers are absent. Unfortunately, some children don't have fathers. Unfortunately, there's so many mothers, single mothers out there who are going through a lot, but they put on a brave face, and I feel for them. I do feel for them because I know it too well, and it just breaks my heart. These kids have so much potential, but because come from single mother household, they're already in a disadvantage. Now I've had quite a few debates or discussions, let's say, with people who are also academically gifted, who may not see the obviousness of the advantage of a child being brought up in a very um, hospitable environment. Say they have both parents are doing a very good job in bringing up a child, where they have aunties and uncles and cousins, the whole system around them. That helps the competitive behavior between cousins and siblings, and the 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 leadership role that a child might see in his father, the compassion and affection that they may receive from their mother and aunties and stuff like that. So that all helps. That all helps in upbringing a well-rounded child, so that when they face fears and mistakes and adversaries or struggles or hurdles, they're able to that they're equipped to deal with all that. But when a kid is brought up in a very single or broken household, they're already in a disadvantaged situation where they're not taught to deal with these things. Anyway, this is what drives me. Yeah. Yeah. So knowing more about people's struggles and depressions and just these things. I hope to bring bring it to the surface and explore those things and make you guys see it, and maybe something you can see there, like can add value to your own household to bring the child. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna leave it for there. I'm gonna leave it there for now. And I'm sure you guys got questions or comments or something like that. Just leave it in the comments. And leave a like, subscribe, share it, spread it. Pray for me, pray for the people around here, pray for the Ummah, Muslims, people are struggling, Muslims and non-Muslim by the way. Yeah, pray for all them, how to live in a community with harmony and respect. So yeah guys, I'm gonna leave it there. Assalamu alaikum. See you there.